Chapter 3.2, Applications of Systems of Linear Equations. This is what the worksheet's over for tonight. It's a mic, yeah. Now, this is number 1. All right, you guys already have this downloaded? It's not. All right. Number 1, a test has 20 questions worth 100 points. So tell me right now, what's the first topic we're going to be talking about? Test questions, okay? So we have the number of test questions, which is 20 questions, and then we have how much it's worth, which is 100 points, right? So we have 2 types of equations. The first type of equation I'm going to come up with is going to be the question equation. And then the second equation we're going to come up with is going to be the point value, or the worth. Do you understand that those are the 2 types of questions that we have to, I should say the 2 types of equations that we have to come up with? Yes? So a test has 20 questions, right? And the test consists of true and false questions worth 3 points each and multiple choice questions worth 11 points each. So what's X and what's Y? Okay, let's rewind. Whenever I say we have to have an equation that deals with the topics of questions, I'm talking about what are the types of questions in this problem? True and false and multiple choice, right? Then whenever I say we have to come up with a point value equation, I'm talking about how much is each true and false question worth and how much is each multiple choice question worth. Does that make sense? So what were the 2 subjects that we've talked about every time with both of those equations that I just talked about? True and false and multiple choice. So we're going to let X be our true and false questions, and we're going to let Y be our multiple choice questions. So I know this is going to sound really stupid, but this is exactly the way I teach it. Think of yourself on a conveyor belt at the checkout line, not on the conveyor belt, but putting things on it, okay? So I have my true and false questions, and I can see them going down the conveyor belt. Beep, beep, beep. You with me? Okay? Yeah, right? Okay, so now I have all my true and false questions. I have all my multiple choice questions, and all of those together have to equal how many questions? 20 questions. So what's my first equation? True and false is, what's true and false? X, and means what? Plus multiple choice, which is Y, and that has to equal my total questions, which is 20. So my question equation is going to be X plus Y has to equal 20, because that's how many questions I have. I have all my true and false questions plus all my multiple choice questions, and that has to equal my total amount, which is 20 questions. Does that make sense? Okay, well now let's talk about, we're checking out and we're buying food, right? You always like to see, well, how much money do I have? How much food can I buy, right? That's what you guys think of. That's exactly the same concept here with how much each one of them is worth. So how much worth does a true and false question have? 3 points. So on my checkout conveyor belt, here we go. There's a true and false. It was worth how much? $3, right? Think of it like that. There's another one. Up. I better have $6 now, right? Up there went another question. I need to have what? $9 now. What are you doing? You're multiplying it, right? You're multiplying. So that's the same concept here. I'm going to multiply 3 times X because that's how much each problem is going to be worth. If I have 1 multiple choice or 1 true and false, it's going to be 3. If I have 2 true and false, it's going to be 6 points. If it's 10 true and false, it's going to be 30 points. Does that make sense? And what does and mean? I'm going to add to that the point value for my multiple choice. Well, how much is my multiple choice question? 11 points. So that's going to be 11 what? And that has to equal the total number of points on the test, which is 100 points. Does that make sense? Could you see this problem being on an ACT? Yeah, absolutely. Could you see this being on the end of course an exam? Well, yeah. Because it's you trying to come up with what X is, which is the number of true and false, and what Y is, which is the number of multiple choice. Now, your goal tonight is to solve this systems of equation and answer this question. How many multiple choice questions are on the test. So you have to find X and you have to find Y. Do we all understand that? You can use elimination or substitution. I don't care which method. Y'all with me? Okay, this is number 2 on tonight's homework. Why am I setting these up with, is that a real job? Yeah, somebody has that responsibility, right? The food and medication for each dog costs twice as much as those supplies for a cat. Can anybody tell me what my first topics are? What am I talking about here? I'm talking about dogs and cats, so that's going to be part of my variables, right? So I'm going to have D is equal to dogs, and C is going to be equal to my cats. Would you agree? Now, if we go back and reread the statement that I just read, the food and medication for each dog costs twice as much as the supplies for a cat. I need 2 times as much of the cats as what I do for a dog, right? The dogs, is equivalent to having twice as many cats. The dogs is equivalent to having twice as many cats. So can you tell me what that equation is going to be? D is equal to 2C. Very good. So for the medication and food for a cat, it's going to cost me twice as much to feed one dog. So is it cheaper to feed a dog or a cat? It's much cheaper to keep cats than it is to keep the dog. Does that make sense? Okay? Because I have to know how much I'm going to cost for a cat to know how much I'm going to know for a dog, right? One more time. Can I possibly know how much it's going to cost me to feed and medicate a dog if I don't know how much it's going to feed and medicate a cat? Does that make sense? Okay, because it says it's twice as much. You with me? Okay. She needs to feed 164 cats and 24 dogs. Her budget is $4,240. So what's my equation? Nope. I got to think money now. Think your conveyor belt. There went 164 cats. For each cat, I got to medicate and feed it, right? So that's going to give me what? 164 C. And on my conveyor belt, I now have what? 24 dogs. So 24D. And I'm going to hand the money to the checkout clerk, and it's going to be how much money? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I really want you to think of that conveyor belt, because if you can visualize that going down the conveyor belt, you can see the money going up, can't you? It makes sense like that. Yes, I know you're thinking of a physical dog right now. You're very, very funny. Okay, do we understand this right here? Now, why do I think that this is an important concept to be used in real life? True, but let's apply it in this problem right here. I am this person who works at the shelter and I'm ordering the medication and the food. He comes up to me and he says to me, I no longer want these dogs, and there are 5 dogs that he wants to drop off at the animal shelter. Can I just automatically say, yes, I'll take all 5? Why? I have to feed and medicate all 5 of those dogs on a budget. What if I don't have enough money? What if I only have enough money to take 3 dogs? Then I can only take the 3 and he has to go home with the other 2. Does that make sense? Okay, that's extremely important, because if I overspend, then that means the door's closed to the shelter and we no longer have it. Do we all understand that and why the importance of this problem is? Okay. Number 3, read it. Can you tell me what the topics are already just by the first 2 sentences? Home and away, right? Home and away. So I'm going to have home, H is home, and A is away. Think of this again. It's just like the true and false multiplication problem, isn't it? The parts added together equal the whole. What's the whole here? 75 is the whole attendance. Does that make sense? The parts are going to be the home fans and the away fans. And those added together have to equal the total fans. So what's my first equation? Good job. H plus A is equal to 75. Because the parts added together have to equal the whole. The parts are the home fans and the away fans, and all of that together has to equal the total fans, which is 75. Okay, let's keep reading. The number of home team fans was, I'm going to stop right there. What does that mean? The number of home fans was. How do I write that mathematically? Home, home, home. What's home? H. What does was mean? It's the past tense of is, which what does is mean in math? Equals. So H equals, right? 90 less than. What does less than mean? Subtracting. However, you have to think to yourself, 90 less than what? The what has to go in front of the 90, correct? So minus 90 is tacked on at the end, and the what goes in front. The what, in this case, is going to be 4 times the number of away team fans. So 4A goes in front, and I'm going to have H equals 4A minus 90. Does that make sense? How would you do this problem? Elimination or substitution? You would definitely use substitution. Why? Because that's already solved for H. You simply plug that expression in for H in the first equation. Y'all with me? Okay. Okay, number 4. Read it to yourself quickly. And I would like you to please write down your variables. Bless you. The drama club sold bags of candy and cookies to raise money for the spring show. They both start with C. That's an issue. You're right. I've been running into that all day. So with that said, you're going to say X is equal to your first ingredient or item. And what is that? Candy. And Y is going to represent your second item, which is going to be cookies. Does that make sense? Okay. So now we know what our parts are, right? The parts are the cookies, the other part is the candy, and all together that has to make the whole, right? So I want you to visualize right now, okay? We are on a conveyor belt, and it says bags of candy cost $7. So my first bag, beep, $7. My second bag, beep, 14. What are we doing? Adding 7 is the same thing as multiplying by 7 every time, right? Okay, so I have the 7x, right? Change your addition into the multiplication concept there. And what does and mean? Bags of cookies cost $2.50. 2.5y. And that equals, how much did we spend total? $48, right? Now it says there are 4 more bags of cookies and candy sold. I'm not here today. I am. Okay, so now there are 4 more bags of cookies than candy sold. There are 4 more bags of cookies. So I need to find my cookies, right? So what does my cookies represent here? So that means Y is equal to what? My candy. How much candy did I sell? Do I know? No, so how much candy did I sell? X and 4 more. Plus 4. Do you see the difference? I heard somebody say 4x. That's 4 times as much, not 4 more. Do we hear the difference? Which method would you use to solve this? Substitution, again, okay? Now, I am done. Your homework for tonight is to solve these equations and answer the questions, okay? There are 2 more problems. There's a problem about fast food and there's a problem about a Super Bowl game, okay? You guys need to come up with those equations yourself and you need to find the answers to those equations also, okay? Tomorrow we will go over them. Do you feel better about these now? Do you think that you would have skipped all of them had I not gone over them? But now that I have, do you feel like you would be okay? Okay. The rest of the time is yours to work on anything you owe me for the rest of the week. I'm all out. I would prefer a strawberry banana smoothie, but thank you. I'm not into a frappe, but thanks.